Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all having a great start of this weekend so far. And welcome to this new video, this middle of the day market update. We will talk a little bit about the markets. It's obviously Saturday, it's weekend, so there's not much going on, but we'll talk a little bit about how the fundamentals around the crypto markets, the general financial markets, how they closed yesterday and what that means for the possibilities of Bitcoin and crypto. And I wanted to spend some more time talking about the two scenarios right here for Bitcoin and for altcoins. And then I briefly will talk about XRP and Ethereum, but that is the main subject of this video. All right. At this point of time, I believe when we're talking about Bitcoin, but therefore also for altcoins, all right, altcoins tend to follow Bitcoin, as most of you know. I think Bitcoin is at a crossroads where we will either get into a larger downtrend, pushing prices lower for both Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will be okay, but for altcoins, it will be significant, or at least much, much more significant. Or we have a chance to just turn this into another range low touch before we actually reclaim the range and get the bullish momentum that's accompanied with that. So we'll talk about that. But like I said, first of all, how the fundamentals ended yesterday, I would say they ended relatively well. If you take a look at the S&P 500, that actually rallied slightly higher still after the markets had closed. Obviously, at this point of time, this is also closed, but you can see that there is some sort of stability right here in the S&P 500, regardless of this being the first time that we really are testing the 12-hour uptrend, all right, which is not bullish, but we're still holding the daily uptrend and we are getting some stability. That's pretty good. Volatility index is also double. We had a massive drop from Thursday into Friday, but we are still elevated, all right? And we're still at the same levels as where we were, for example, the 1st of August. So there is still elevated unrest in the markets, but the trend is going into the right direction. And this is something, and the entire market is very dependent on this. And that's also why we are at a crossroads. This is very dependent on two things, I think, at the moment. And I think the number one thing is the trade conflict between China and the United States. So far, we haven't had any updates on that this Saturday. I think everybody's asleep. I think everybody's golfing. But we're going to get updates, and that is most likely going to determine what the volatility index and other fundamentals with that are going to do, and crypto is going to act based on that. But that can be bullish or bearish depending on what happens, and that's also why, or one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about the two scenarios right here for Bitcoin, right? Because I genuinely do think we are at a crossroads. Bitcoin has found a strong support right here at this level around 104,000, where that thick orange line is a very relevant support level. But outside of that, we also hit the point of control, aka the most liquid area of the price action that we had from May into July, which matters quite a lot as well. We had some sort of consolidation, and it's just a very respected key level as well, which means that when we're talking about the two scenarios, this could still be a range low. Right, as you can see, since the bullish momentum in July, Bitcoin has been consolidating right here in this area between 108,000, where we also pushed down to at the end of August, and this level right here, let's say 120,000, which we deviated twice above, but ultimately that's the main level pulling us back. So the bullish case scenario right here, which could in general happen, but obviously again, those fundamentals can push us up in that as well. That would be reclaiming this level, I would argue, around 109,000. 109,000 is the safe level that if we are able to reclaim that, it would be best if that was with volume, and it would be best if that was with good news. If we're able to reclaim that and hold it, this was just a deviation below the range, and we have reclaimed back into the range, and after reclaiming back into the range, I would expect to move all the way into 118,000 at least. This is the bullish scenario, all right? And we'll talk about altcoins in a moment, because altcoins will largely follow Bitcoin. But this is the bull case, all right? So we get less unrest, we get some good news regarding those fundamentals, and Bitcoin shows strength with reclaiming 109,000. Getting the actual technical confirmation matters a lot. Now, the bearish case, all right, so that would mean escalation, bad news, no Bitcoin strength, would be a rejection of that level around 109 and 110,000, and followed by a move into the first major support level, which we have around 101 or 101,000, 100,000 psychological level, weekly trend, and probably also into the yearly rolling VWAP at 97,000. And this would be the bear case for now. After 97,000, we'll talk again. I would think that's going to be the bottom, even in a bearish scenario. But these are the two options, all right? And they depend, first of all, on the price action that we're going to get next week. And second of all, on the fundamentals, all right? And at this point of time, and I said that in my Bitcoin video this morning as well, at this point of time, I'm neutral, all right? I'm awaiting this, and I will be ready in both scenarios, all right? I will be ready to execute certain positions, and I will be ready to execute and set certain limit orders based on what happens over the course of the next couple of days, because I do think it boils down to the next couple of days, but also the next couple of weeks of negotiations and developments. Also when it comes to the war in Russia and Ukraine. Now, when we're talking about altcoins, it's also pretty crucial. If you look at the total three, on the 3-day time frame right here, you can see at this point of time on the 3-day time frame, we're still holding the uptrend. And we have hit the yearly rolling VWAP. So the bullish case scenario would be that we hold this support right here, that we will get into a consolidation, and that eventually, hopefully, we will actually be able to continue the uptrend and make higher highs, all right? So this is the bull case scenario. And then the bearish case would be losing this critical support level right here, around $1,980,000,000. Again, that would most likely be while there's some fundamental bearish momentum, and that would most likely push us down into this previous fair value gap right here between $900 and $860 billion. But from there, to be completely honest with you, it's going to be quite hard for me to argue that there's some sort of hope for altcoins. If we drop down all the way into that level right here, it's very hard. Like at this point of time, on the 3-day time frame and the weekly time frame, altcoins are still bullish. If we drop down into this, we're no longer, all right? And it's going to be very difficult to still expect an uptrend for altcoins. And there's going to be some tough things that need to be said there. So again, critical level right here. What's going to happen depends very much, first of all, on the fundamentals and in general, the price action we see over the course of the next 2 weeks. I will keep you updated on that, but these are the two scenarios I think you need to be ready for both of them. Now, when we're talking about Ethereum and XRP, those will most likely, like in broad lines, they will just follow whatever Bitcoin does. Now, I think both Ethereum and XRP are a little bit stronger. Like Ethereum has a better chance, I think, to actually stay within the range, as it is still holding the range right now, while Bitcoin is not. All right, so I'm a little bit more bullish when it comes to Ethereum, which means that I think the same as what I thought about Bitcoin, but I think we have a slightly higher chance to hold support levels, and I would be slightly more inclined to buy Ethereum. XRP is also relatively stronger than Bitcoin right now. We're actually recovering fairly well over the course of this morning. But again, it will depend on Bitcoin. But both of these, XRP and Ethereum, I think are going to be, more steady than Bitcoin if we push down. And I think they're going to be more bullish if Bitcoin is actually able to put in that reclaim. And that's what I think you need to know, and that's what I wanted to talk about this weekend. Hopefully it helps you a little bit, but like I said, I will keep you updated on these scenarios, and I will cover it more often in my videos, talking about what is the situation right now and what is most likely at this point of time. So I'll keep you updated on that. For now, have a great weekend. I'll see you on my next videos, and bye.